friends around the world. This is Caravan to Midnight. Welcome. I am John B. in the left seat of Ark Midnight, mother of all motherships, and do we have a program for you? We've spoken with DJ before, the Level 9 News Jade Helm lady, before, a couple of times, at least twice. Now we're going to speak to her again because, well, it's getting better for them and it's getting worse for us. And speaking of getting worse, you know that whole First Amendment thing? Well, Joel Gilbert, author of Dreams of My Real Father and There's No Place Like Utopia, he's been on the program before too. He's coming in with an update, and the beautiful thing about speaking with both of these people is that it's not the same old, same old. Every time they come back on, there's something new to bring to the party, and I'm convinced you want to hear this. She's been on before. Her name is DJ. I know her whole name, and I'm not going to tell it to you now unless she wants to later, and that's a lady's choice. She has a website known as Level 9 News. The only number in there is the 9, level9news.com. It's hosted in an area of the world that holds privacy as, I'm thinking, pretty much their, other than life itself, I would say their number 2 priority. And she has a book in process titled Sum of All Fears, Global Enslavement by an Archonic Technocratic Elite. And she's made a number of videos. Her speeches are always compelling. She's a very, very nice lady, and more to the point, she's a real smart one, too. So here she comes. DJ, welcome back to Caravan to Midnight, my dear. Been a little bit too long. How are you?
Hi, John. Thank you. Thank you for having me on again to talk about some of these new developments that are coming around the corner.
The nice thing about Caravan is that it really is like the global living room. We're just all sitting around talking, and it's cool. So a minute ago, we were just talking about various things, and I said, "Wait a minute, we just need to roll because we know each other now, so we can just talk. We don't have to go, well, Mr. Wells, well, Ms. DJ. We don't have to do that." But and I was talking about South Africa. There's actually a sign in a power plant. A power plant. Why do you keep talking about South Africa? You'll find out. But in the broad strokes, it's that is where this country is headed. And this is what the sign read at the power plant. The next man who is blown up by this panel will be fired. I mean, are you getting this, folks? This is a real sign. There's a public service advisor out there that says some of the things that you can do to avoid Ebola is avoid eating bats and monkeys. Oh, and wash your hands occasionally, too. So, as one thing led to another, DJ and I are talking, and she said she reviewed 7, this is when I went, wait. She reviewed 7 somethings that had to do with Davos, and she has brand new information for us. And I'm just going to step back and let it rip. Is this a suitable introduction, DJ? Because I'm just thinking we ought to just let it rip, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. I reviewed about 7.5 hours of panel discussions at the January Davos Summit meeting. It's the Economic Summit meeting, and some of the main topics there were, of course, I was just focusing on the areas of my research was artificial intelligence, the global economy with relation to, the state of work and employment on a global scale, automation, proliferation of artificial general intelligence, those types of things. There were panel discussions on autonomous weaponry and that type of stuff. But what I found very interesting, as this was an economic summit, was their take and their concerns regarding the proliferation of AGI and the effect that it will have on the global workforce.
AGI is what?
Artificial general intelligence.
Okay.
It's the next step up from artificial intelligence, which is pretty much task-oriented within performing a certain task, function, or outcome. Artificial general intelligence, however, is more distributed.
Yeah, I'm thinking widely deployed intelligence, artificial intelligence.
Right. It takes from other AIs and other AGIs to, quote-unquote, learn.
Okay, and so after 7.5 hours, what were the highlights?
What they were discussing in a couple of these panel forums was what they're referring to as the Great Decoupling or the Great Destabilization that's coming on the horizon, that's underway, which is currently displacing the human workforce with automation in all forms of economic production and distribution. Now, the way I look at this, if I could, just take a minute to kind of explain to the audience, and they probably already know this because you have a very sharp audience, okay? But I look at this technological revolution in pretty much three waves. The first wave has already occurred, and that wave kind of presented itself in the form of machines running narrow-based AI in order to replace human muscle power or energy. So, and this wave was welcomed by the laborers and manufacturers as it reduced physical demands on the employees, and it yielded more profits of the manufacturers without long-term cost implications to them. Okay, so that was the first wave. Now, the second wave, this wave was kind of marked by the augmentation of human intellectual power, by the infiltration and the infiltration of AI and AGI, what we're seeing now, and it's pretty much a household word, smart systems. Now, these are contextual and cognitive decision-based systems that production and distribution entities used to rely, that they used to rely on human decision makers to perform. Now, in addition, all of the increased data collection using the IoT, the Internet of Things, on everyone, about every aspect of their lives in order to create individual and group-based digital profiles on the global information grid has provided an invaluable tool for marketers and advertisers to provide their corporate sponsors with current and future trends and demands in their economic and even the financial sectors. Now, this has resulted, okay, in an increasing reliance now on web-based automation systems in the areas of production, distribution, finance, dissemination of information, and social interaction and communications, which has, it's like a full feeding cycle. That has created an increasing reliance on this technology as we go about our daily routines. We all use Siri, we all use GPS navigation. A lot of the smartphones now have this thing called Smart Stay, where it can detect that your eye is looking at it and it won't power the screen down. It'll stay powered up as long as you have that software running in the background. And we're finding it more and more increasingly difficult to function in today's society without being connected to this global information grid. Now, and we've talked about this before, way back in the day with Jade Helm and GeoIn. The average person is being more or less converted or transformed to a digital human network node on the global information grid. And this wave, the second wave, which we've pretty much already gone through already, has incorporated AGI, artificial general intelligence, across multiple platforms on distributed networks. Now, the third wave, this is the final wave, which is currently, and figuratively speaking, it's breaking on the beach as we speak, is a technological-based, technocratic global C2 system, command and control system. And the way I see this being projected out is that it will present in the form of dominance over economies, finance, food, energy, essential service production and distribution, communications, transportation, and pretty much all of the other basic life essentials, including social management and governance, which we used to rely on government to provide. Now, this final wave, this final technological wave, will pretty much engulf the world in a neural net driven by AGI. You know, they see this coming, they know what's happening. If they weren't concerned about it, they wouldn't be having all these panel discussions at Davos. AI was not only a major topic of conversation at the Bilderberg summit in 2015, it's also a major topic of discussion at the upcoming Bilderberg meeting, as well as um, a world without work, so to speak, on the horizon. And I found it very, very interesting in these discussions. You know, they're all talking as if this is a foregone conclusion. This is going to happen. They're saying that within 5 years, 47% of the global workforce will yield to automation. 5 to 10 years from that point, all of the global workforce will be a world without work. Everything will be automated. And the funny thing is that the tech companies have known about this paradigm shift for the last decade. And if you look at a lot of the social programs, the executive orders, legislation, funding programs, you know, the melding of academia with private corporations and think tank organizations like DARPA and IARPA, they saw this coming. And they've relied on the government to transfer funds in order to prepare them for this.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's possible to interdict any of this. I suspect that there is a way to do it. You okay? It sounded like something large went off in the background there for a minute.
No, are we still on?
Yeah, we are.
Well, they're looking at to bridge this great decoupling, as they're dubbing it. They're looking to bridge this world without work by implementing what's called, and this is not a new concept, evidently, a basic minimum sustainable income for all. All right. And as I said before, you know, the tech companies have been aware of this paradigm shift in the form of global labor force disruption for quite some time now, and they're now discussing the implementation of a global minimum sustainable income for everyone. And you know, here's some of the things that I've identified that they've taken advantage of in order to be able to create this bridge in the interim. Like I mentioned before, they're partnering with government and academia. They're securing government grants for R&D. They're ensuring government policies and agendas that would support them during the transitional phase. The H-1B visa program, which provided them with cheap foreign technical expertise in the areas of programming and engineering. You know, why would they opt to continue to pay top dollar for talent they know will be rendered pretty much obsolete in the coming shift? Obamacare was another instrumental thing that was put out there to to accelerate the culling of the workforce, the expansion of these social welfare programs, illegal immigration in the name of social equality and wealth distribution. You know, they've all played their respective roles in culling the labor force in preparation for this. You know, again, and this is how I see it. This is based on lots of stuff I've been reading and following on this. Now, Obama's executive order on HPC and the formulation of a national strategic computing initiative back in July of 2015 is instrumental in this as well. The government received their marching orders from the corporate technology sector and promptly carried out these orders in the form of executive orders, avoiding the potential, that Congress may not vote to fund these open-ended black check programs. And in addition, the verbiage in these executive orders pretty much undeniably projects the fact that they're laying the groundwork for technocratic rule. Phrases like the needs of government and as it will serve whole of government initiatives, which are repeated throughout these orders, denotes a combined rule, like of corporations with leverage being provided by things like, academia and, these military technology think tanks, like we mentioned before, the DARPA and IARPA programs, Carnegie Mellon Institute, they're all involved. They're all involved in these things. They're all participating. Oh, here's another thing. Another dot we can connect here is that the 2015 XO on HPC, high performance computing, has a time review period of 5 years, which coincidentally jives with the 5-year target date expressed by the Davos 2016 symposium, which states that they're projecting down the road 5 years that we're going to see a 47% reduction in global unemployment during that exact same time frame.
The thing that really gets me about this is that the mainstream media is okay with it. Just going back to, robots and artificial intelligence, replacing workers, the labor-free future. Just a simple internet search of articles regarding robots replacing workers, just for 2016. Oh, there's plenty of them in there for 2015. But get this, folks, this is ridiculous. Washington Post, yes, the robots will steal our jobs, and that's fine. Those jobs will be replaced with new ones.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What?
The rapid advance of technology makes most of today's workers obsolete. Source, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, here's another one from TheGuardian.com. Mercedes-Benz swaps robots for people on its assembly lines. New York Times, the robots are coming for Wall Street. CNN, money.cnn.com, smart robots could soon steal your job. That's from January 15. Here's HBR.org. What happens to society when robots replace workers? Here's U.S. News. Robots could cut international labor costs 16% by 2025. That's 9 years. And those years will go by. 16% of the entire global workforce is what this means in 9 years.
Well, that's what I found. Sorry, John.
No, it's all right.
To interrupt.
No, do it.
But what I found is that the PIO spokesman, for these large technology giants,
POI.
That's what they're putting out there. They're saying it's going to be, 15, 25, 30 years down the road. It's not.
No.
And that's the cat they don't want out of the bag, I guess, and that's why there were so many of these forums at Davos addressing this subject, because it's not 25 to 30 years down the road. It's 5 to 10. At least that's what they're looking at. And as we all know, Bilderberg is, the entity that sets the agendas. Davos is the entity that figures out the policies and ways and means in which to carry them out.
Well, I'll hang some more crepe. Here it is. China's robot army set to surge. Robot army, right? Robots replacing human factory workers at faster pace, LA Times. New York orders fast food workers replaced with robots and kiosks. And I just wonder, as we go through this conversation, what has to happen for them to implement this? I mean, don't we, people? Did you ever see Soylent Green? All these hungry mobs out in the street, and remember the scoops are on their way. The scoops are on their way, and they just scoop them up, put them in these garbage trucks, and take them to a processing plant. And at the end, Charlton Heston has got his fist up in the air as he's on a conveyor belt or something. He's going somewhere. Soylent Green is people. Yeah. Well, doesn't it make sense Am I just being Mr. Doom and Gloom here? Or does a good portion of the population of the planet need to be annihilated and otherwise removed before the great, fully automated world of production and service can be fully deployed and implemented?
That's a good question and a good point. I mean, if you look at it from a network management standpoint, it's much easier to manage a network with 100 nodes than a network with 1,000,000.
Well, yeah, and what I'm thinking is look at the political leaders. Now, this may not be where you want to go, DJ, and it's okay. But do we see any political leaders doing anything to actually calm people down? No. What I see is that they try to divide everybody. You get billionaire, monstrous excuse of a human being, George Soros, cranking Lord only knows how much money into outfits like everything from the Strong Cities Initiative to Black Lives Matter to make sure and keep racial tensions churned up. And we've discussed this before. This point has been made. The question's been asked and answered over and over again. The easiest way to get rid of a large population of people is to set them on each other.
Right.
I mean, that's how you do it, and just through attrition, which gets ratcheted up as time goes by. Once this algorithm is put in place and somebody punches the button and starts it into motion, the reduction factor increases. The reduction factor increases over time, and you lose more and more and more people. That's why in so many areas of the world they don't do anything about the bloodshed, the civilian bloodshed. They let it keep rolling because it's actually good for business, because those people will be replaced with something else. It's really monstrous. But the thing is what about the solutions to this? Let's say we just pull the plug on all of this. The first question we have to ask ourselves is the result of technology, these products, is this really necessary? Has it increased productivity? Has it really improved anyone's life? Is it really convenient, or is it really more of it's the master and you're the slave? You become a slave to the technology. It's the same thing that's happened over and over, just with civilization itself. The civilization begins by serving the people, but after a while, the people serve the civilization. Technology, the study of the technical aspects of life, was supposed to serve the people, but damn it, now it's the people are having to serve the products produced by technology.
And the corporations that provide them.
Especially them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder, I'm looking at this machine and I'm going, I don't really at this moment see the place to shove the monkey wrench in, Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things, and we'll get into talking about this basic sustainable income, the BMI model, basic income model, basic minimum income model, in a minute. But one of the prime components that's going to make this quote unquote work for them is a cashless society. All right, they're going to need to monitor every cent that goes into the basic income model and every cent that comes out in the form of expenditures and acquisitions of life essential products and services. Okay, without a cashless society, that's going to be difficult for them. So, as far as what do we do about this? How can we fight this? Well, I think one of the things is to make sure, make a lot of noise about what, governments, not only in this country, but around the world are trying to do is they're trying to go to a digital cash system. No more gold, silver, paper, fiat money. They don't want any of that anymore.
That's right.
It's very difficult for them to account for the physical movement of these things through an economy.
Well, I'll say this is just a fine kettle of fish. All right, fine. Now, we did a story recently that NASA, somebody inside NASA, revealed that it's not harmful to the environment. What's not harmful to the environment? The lithium that we're spraying into the atmosphere, it's not harmful to the environment. Well, what about the people? People? Yeah, the people that are breathing this. Well, what does it do to them? It just sort of mellows them out. I mean, that's about the most it'll do. But the important thing is it doesn't harm the environment. God, how my thumbs just crave sinking into this person's windpipe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, and what good is an environment if there's no people to enjoy it? Yeah, these people are crazy. They are. And what about too? I was listening to an interview. Well, I listened to the interviews that you did with Dave Wigington.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the heavy metal particulates and the aluminum and stuff like that. But one aspect of the chemtrails or the geoengineering that they're using is barium. That's one of the ingredients. Now, what is barium? Barium's a radiation getter.
Mm-hmm.
It acts like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when you go to the hospitals for these radiological, scans and exams, they make you drink the barium.
Yeah. When they do an arteriogram, it absorbs the radiation, and they can see it on the little screen there. So, do we think that maybe when we breathe it, it actually? Well, I don't know. Do you think maybe they're trying to help us, DJ? It's like, drink the barium. It'll absorb all the radiation from the various nuclear power plants that we should never have turned on to begin with, various atmospheric tests that we've conducted where that stuff is still blowing around all over the place, and other accidents that we didn't bother to report.
Yeah.
We're trying to help you.
They're always trying to help.
Yeah.
At least how this is how all this stuff is always sold to the public. It's we're going to improve the human experience. And, with this basic minimum income, everybody is going to be able to just sit back and do what they love and enjoy all the days of their lives. They won't have to worry about the tedious stresses of work and things like that. Okay, so yeah, I was reading one quote here from Davos, and they were promoting a society whereby all the people can spend all their leisure time doing activities they enjoy without having to work with the pressures of life. I mean, this is a fallacy at best. AGI, and they were also saying that the basic income that, they'll so benevolently be giving to everybody on the planet will be like a sort of provide for a sort of venture capital for people to tinker and invent so that they can sell their goods and wares on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is insane. The AGI will be able to predict and employ these developments and bring them to market in hours versus days or months or years that it would take, for a human using their human and intellect to create and market these innovations. So the basic minimum income model presents nothing more than income security, and not as it's being touted and advertised in places like the Netherlands and Denmark and Sweden. It's not employment security or prosperity security for the masses. And I also noticed, John, a very strange thing, that they were tying, I had to laugh at this, they were tying climate change to the basic minimum income model. And the argument went something like this. The less people involved in the workforce will result in less people traveling to work. So this then would mean everybody would have less disposable income as well. And people will have to this would result in people traveling less for services of comfort or luxury items that will be now reclassified as indulgences under these models.
Yeah.
And this will all result in less carbon emissions.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't see the hidden benefit here.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I hate carbon.
Yeah. Especially CO2.
Carbon and fennel. No, I actually like fennel.
Oh, that's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but I mean the actual they think that we're so stupid, and it's just exuding out from these panels and these people, and the higher ups, that are, putting forth these agendas and things like that. And I read that piece on we can reduce the carbon emissions and save the planet by giving everybody a basic minimum sustainable income. And the reasons they gave as to why. And I was actually laughing out loud. I couldn't believe what I was reading.
Well, here's the thing. Now, folks, let me, God, ever since that excuse of a president up there, whatever that thing is, and that thing that he hangs with, get it?
Oh, my God.
Sorry. Wow, didn't see that one coming. Strongbow. Okay, sorry. Maybe they'll become a sponsor of the program. When you consider, there's a story sitting here on Drudge Report, which, by the way, he can wear that hat and look at the camera like, but I think there are two things about this. Mr. Go said, I think this damn page is arranged to produce angst in people, number one. And why am I supposed to believe that this guy sitting on somebody's rather well-known show in silhouette is real and just happened to be in Austin and drop by? I mean, what a load of. Well, so I'm looking at Drudge's report here. And you know what it says? It says top 1%, the top 1% pay 45%, 45 of all California taxes. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? That means that they don't need almost half of you for anything other than to consume, enjoy, relax. The question is, how and with what will they be paying for this? Well, why are people fleeing California in droves? Just mentioned the LA Times said, this robots replacing workers is proceeding at a faster pace than we originally thought. Oh, really? That's because you don't think about after, before, but so be prepared for more surprises. But you know what? That's actually rather chilling. If 1% is paying 45% of the tax, that means that almost half the population is unnecessary. Because obviously...
that's a good observation. It really is when you put it in that context.
Yeah.
And, this basic income model, if you really dissect it and figure out, read about how it's supposed to work and everything, it is a self-perpetuating cycle whereby, all right, let me back up a minute. The system will initially, as the discussions went, will initially be funded and administered by government. Now, however, the way I see this going is the government model will yield to corporate funding of these programs based on their net profits. Essentially, getting rid of the middleman, government, and the removal of corporate taxation through production and distribution automation. You may say, well, how does that work? Okay, we currently have a corporate tax structure. Now you have Company A and Company B. Company A puts out, X amount of widgets, the same amount of widgets as Company B. Company A is fully automated and therefore has no employees. So Company A basically retains all, if not all of their net profits at the end of the day. Company B, however, has hundreds of employees. They have to pay salaries, corporate, state, federal, local taxes, and they're coming out with significantly less profit in their pocket at the end of the day. This is how this cycle is going to move. All right. Now, typically, John, salary taxes and benefits represent the largest line items, on corporations' expense budgets. And this provides a huge profit incentive for corporations to move towards full automation, in the Davos, creating a world without work. And this is what we're looking at is a form of global fascism by way of technology.
You bet. You bet. And I go back to one of your points here in the notes that you sent me. AI and automation will displace 47% of global workforce in 5 years. In 5 years.
And I double-checked that figure, John, with several other sources. The Silicon Valley consortiums, they're coming up with the same figure. Individual spokespeople at these tech giants, they're coming up with the same figure. So they didn't make this up. At least if they did, they're all on the same page. So...
Now listen, you know how bucky I am, so whenever you want to jump in with something, you just do it. I want you to feel completely at ease, which I sense that you are at ease. But look, folks, let me put this in. You're just throwing terms at us to scare us. There's somebody out there saying that somewhere. Shh. Let me put it to you another way. Settle. All right, wait and think. Did you just take out a car loan? You did, didn't you? All right. How many months are in a year? And how many years does it take to make 60 months? 5. Which suggests to me that there is not just a possibility, but a significant probability that by the time you pay that car off in 60 months, you won't have a job. You will not have a job in the length of your average car loan. Now, how's that grab you?
You know, I didn't even think about all of this in those terms.
Well, you have to.
We keep coming back to the 5-year mark.
Yeah.
5 years, 5 years, 5 years. You know, so.
Well, but I want people to have some perspective on this. It's like, look, folks, we're all together here for one reason. We're here for information and for, whatever news may be relevant to our existence. Remember this. Raw intelligence is never unambiguous. Raw intelligence is always, there are elements in it that contradict each other. If a guest comes on and says something, and you don't agree with it based on your research, that's good for you. That's a mark over on your side of the board. That's a point. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to just sit there and listen and nod like Larry Fine when he's thinking about something else and Mo's trying to instruct him on how to disarm the nuclear bomb or whatever. You're supposed to do this. This isn't, somebody called it, it's been called fear porn, but I heard doom porn recently. Oh, yeah, look at all of this stuff. Ebola, it didn't work. Planet X, not much play on that. North Korea is going to attack us. What? All
Zika
of this
virus.
Oh, yeah, Zika virus. The first gay couple has been diagnosed with Zika virus in Texas. Ask me if I give a flying... I don't care. Practice better hygiene. It's now, here's the other part. What happens, DJ, what happens to the people who have been displaced once you have enough of them? Is it off to the FEMA camps for
Well, this is this transitional bridge they're talking about. They know that massive amounts of people are going to be displaced in the global workforce in a relatively short period of time. You remember the Luddite uprising? What was it, back in the, early 1800s or something like that?
Was that in Colorado by chance?
No. No, it was in England.
I'm kidding you, okay?
Okay. But, they actually had to call in the British Army to suppress the uprising because of the invention. The Luddites, I think, made cloth and yarn and stuff like that. Yep. And then with the adaptation of these pretty archaic machines, they were able to pump these out, this stuff out a lot quicker and faster, and it displaced a lot of those people in this society from their livelihood. And of course, they uprose, and what they're trying to avoid with this basic minimum income is to sort of placate the people during the transition period, and this is such an evil but beautiful system in its malevolence, let's call it, okay? Because what this does is creates the basic minimum income model. It creates societies that aren't dependent on government welfare programs, but corporate welfare programs. The basic model it's a zero-sum game. It's a zero-sum game for the recipients of the program, and it's a guaranteed return on investment for corporations funding these programs, because by creating this self-sustained economic feedback loop, so to speak, every cent they dole out eventually comes back to them. It's like a revolving door. Okay, we're going to give you $2,500 this month. Oh, but your corporate housing is going to run $1,100, and your corporate utilities are going to run X, and your corporate medical services are going to run Y. It all goes right back. They're not losing anything.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. If you could see the diabolical beauty of this.
Oh, it totally does. And the thing about
it's Hunger Games.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Well, look. Let's just lateral over this way a little bit, DJ. People, look at what is happening in the just in the election process. Look what is happening. Your votes don't matter. You may not even get to vote. No caucus, no primary in Colorado. The delegates all threw in for careers. Right? There's some stuff about Cruz that you heard about at the beginning of the program. These people are psychopaths. And don't make any mistake about that. You know, you take any gang, I don't care if it's a street gang with their pants halfway down to the ground. I don't care if it's a criminal motorcycle gang or a bunch of guys in suits. It doesn't really matter what the decor is provided to the bodies that contain the psychopathic entity within. It doesn't matter what the window dressing is. It's the character of the individuals that makes a difference, right? And
right.
what happens when you get someone in there that isn't really quite sure if they want to do, drug dealing and arms dealing, illegal arms dealing, and they don't really kind of have a conscience about whacking out their competitors and so forth. What happens to that person? Okay, no takers. They get thrown in the weeds. Their dead body gets thrown in the weeds. That's what happens to them. You have to subscribe to the group mentality, and if the stakes are high enough, you can't just quit. Now, if the stakes are low, you just get thrown out and ostracized. But if the stakes are high, you get killed. That's how it is in politics. That's why there's a cabal. These people have all taken a blood oath, and they damned well know it. Who have you taken a blood oath with? You think about that while DJ carries on, but pay attention to her too, okay? Think about it later. Make a note. But I'm serious about this.
Your point is absolutely relevant. Let's face it, if voting actually made a difference, we wouldn't be allowed to vote. It's a charade. It's like we'll let the people think, they have a say. We'll let them vote. And if we don't like the way their vote goes, we'll just change it. Or like in Colorado, we won't let them vote at all. And it's so blatantly out there in your face. So, when you and I talk about things like this and people say, oh, that's ludicrous. That would never happen here. Look what is happening here. And 10 or 15 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, I don't think, the average guy on the street, if you ask them, could these things that are happening today ever happen in America? Their response probably was never here.
Yeah.
I was like that.
Yeah, and DJ, I don't mean to sound condescending, and I probably do, because this is a we deal. This isn't me speaking down to everyone from the lectern there at the Oracle. That's not what this is. I got pulled into this jackpot too. I just got sick of it. That's why we do this program. That's why, if I just wanted to take a paycheck, I'd still be doing what I was doing when most people who are with Caravan to Midnight, they know I came over from coast to coast. They were listening to me over there, and thank you very much for that. If I just wanted a paycheck, I would just kept my mouth shut and kept going. And every once in a while, some idiot will pop up there. Well, you're not supposed to call people idiots, but according to the Bible, that's not good. All right, morons. Then I don't think the word morons is used, and maybe they're not morons. Maybe they're paranoid. It's like he's got a handler, or he's gone over to the dark side, or he's CIA. It's like bollocks. None of that stuff is true. There's no allure to the dark side for me whatsoever. I've already bought the cars and had the houses and all that. And it's just a bunch of stupid rubbish is what it is. Tyler Durden in Fight Club is completely correct. The stuff that you own owns you. I figured that out some years ago. I'm going more toward Plato every day. You know, the idea of owning a mansion the size of Ted Cruz's or Paul Ryan's, that doesn't have any appeal to me. I'm thinking more rent furnished as time goes by, you know what I mean? So I can grab my bug out bag and get the hell down the road because there's no permanence. There's no mechanism in place for permanence of life. When you see these statistics such as, longevity is increasing. People are living longer. Well, how many of those up there in power do you think are okay with that? Their attitude is, these damn people are living too long. We got to figure out some way to shorten the timeline because, as they get older, they're less productive. They're paying fewer taxes. We're, in fact, having to pay them. We kind of need to get rid of them. And
they're a burden on the system.
Yeah, sure. And the vets, too. They come over wounded. Oh, my gosh, that's potentially millions of dollars in rehabilitation and reconstruction, everything else. Just hook them up with some, it looks to me like just hook them up with some drugs. They're already psychologically damaged from blowing the hell out of a bunch of people they don't know and have nothing to do with on account of being sent there to do that by some other mugs that they don't know. So just fix them up with some psychotropes, and the problem will take care of itself. That's what they're doing. There is a dark side, and it's run by Satan. Read your Bible. And I'm not a part of that initiative. I'm not. And I'm not so stupid that I'm going to get pulled into it and just, wander around like a willing idiot and not know what I'm doing. There is a spiritual component here. Wouldn't you agree, DJ? I don't know where you are spiritually. I don't.
No, I totally agree with you. And most of my reports on my site, reference that there's some type of a spiritual war going on, and this technology, this transhumanism movement, this breakaway civilization movement, these maniacs like Ray Kurzweil out there, they're looking to separate the soul from the human. Then you're a biobot.
That's right.
What I call a biobot.
That's right. You want to hear something? You want to hear something you won't believe?
What?
So, Mr. Ghost, that's the alias for my son, because that's what he publishes his music under. It's pretty good music too, by the way. He's got a dog named Scout. And Scout's sitting on the floor yesterday, and just staring up at the ceiling. Just staring. She's interested in something up there. Well, Barandina comes in. And she goes, look at that. Now, this is going to sound like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your life. You know what was in here? A bleeping orb is hanging around up by the ceiling.
What?
I know. It sounds insane, and maybe it is. I didn't do it. I was nowhere near the electromagnetine plant. I didn't make the orb. Yeah, there was an orb in here. An orb in here. I mean, it wasn't like a globe, like your globe just all of a sudden came off its stand and went floating across. But your eyes could detect it. You could see it. This thing with a purple center in it. It was like, what the hell do you suppose that is? So look, people understand that there's stuff going on all around us all the time. We don't have a clue what this stuff really, really is. But there are some people out there who do know what these things are. There are people who practice things, and they bring power to themselves. And if you want to know how this is done, there's this thing called the scriptures that you can read. And if you read it, really read it, and you go from Old Testament back to New Testament, you see what the Christ said. And then you go back to see what was written thousands of years ago, and you see those correlations. You begin to gain the ability to understand what's happening to us in this bubble. And I'll leave it at that. I don't want to go preaching now because artificial intelligence, this is an initiative to make men as gods. That's what this is. These people in control are so delusional, they really believe that it's possible to do it. And in the short term, they can develop the symptoms of being godlike, but they can't do it. They're blinded by their own hubris at the expense of millions of lives. Okay, I'll stop now.
No, I couldn't have said that better myself. And I think what we're seeing here, and I've done a couple of reports on this, they're on my website, is that this global neural net that they're creating in conjunction with CERN, There's definitely a connection there. What they are looking for is this artificial general intelligence that sits on a distributed network and is going to basically provide a womb for this ancient, benevolent, not benevolent, malevolent, evil force that it has inhabited this planet. And this is my belief. I'm not preaching or anything. This is my belief. It's a malevolent intelligence that has inhabited this planet for eons.
You bet.
And this artificial intelligence is a way to embody it. Because I know, and we're getting a little off track here, but that's okay.
That's okay. We can do what we want. We're grown-ups.
But, there's a lot of people out there, who are saying that people are, controlled by these forces, these entities, these intelligences. But while they're in, let's call it human form, and I don't want to get too way out there sci-fi about this, but, they can only affect so many people. However, if you turn that model around, whereby you plug all the people into the neural net, problem solved.
What's that last word? The very last word you spoke?
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Yeah, I stepped on you. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So, I think that this technology they're messing with, I believe CERN is very dangerous. I don't think they should be doing what they're doing out there at all. But I think it is to provide a global neural net that reaches and touches and controls all of civilization on this planet simultaneously.
Can I run something? Go ahead. You finished. I got a question that's trying to get out.
Okay. Well, I was going to just say you're not going to have to depend on world leaders, controlling their own little separate sectors. This thing is going to be massive. So anyway, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. It's just that you get me thinking, and all these questions start trying to burst out at once. Now listen, I expect you to tear my theory apart, and I'm okay with it because I don't know, and I haven't researched it as much as you have. But I'm thinking about Jade Helm. Jade Helm was all the rage, right, for a while, and I was wondering. I thought, if just after hearing what you had to say about it, and just tying 2 or 3 things together, the AI component, the desire for total control over everything, okay? Being able to read DNA from a satellite, stuff like that, everything. I thought, wait a minute, what if this is a little simpler than what we thought? What if Jade Helm and the master the human domain thing was really about seeing how many SOCOM operators and others they could insert into the general public without anybody noticing? And that became the first tier of nodes. And once they were satisfied, these are pretty simplistic terms, but once they were satisfied that they could lock the whole damn civilization down, then the second tier of nodes became us.
Mm-hmm.
And this
was, like I said, it was a system rollout.
Well, how successful was it? I take it just went away like it never happened.
Yeah, well, I think it was successful to some degree in that the massive amount of information they were collecting on activity-based, information on everybody, communications information, and the list goes on and on. They had the algorithms to predict and preempt those. However, they didn't have the hardware computing capacity to push that.
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Yeah. And again, John, that's right smack in the middle of the Jade Helm exercise. Obama initiated his executive order for high-performance computing and the formulation of a national strategic computer initiative. Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm. Timing is
Why
a little...
Why do we need that?
Timing is suspect, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Why not leave that up to the corporations and tech companies to develop, organically? I know that's a kind of an ironic word, but you know what I'm saying? Why do we have to come out with an executive order for that?
Yeah. Why an executive order? Why in that form?
Mm-hmm. And why with the verbiage that was in that executive order? And if people are interested, I have that entire executive order dissected on my site. It's HPC Obama's XO on HPC.
You know,
Needs of government.
I want to throw something in, just a quick one that may seem a little obtuse, but I think it goes to the point I was trying to make earlier about the 45% of all the taxes in California are paid by 1%. Get this. You know what a super PAC is? It's a political action committee, right? Close to half of all super PAC money comes from 50 donors. 50. So I guess that means, well, let's say 150, because maybe the other half of it is made up by people with less dough. So 150 people contribute all the super PAC money. What does that tell you? It tells you that the so-called ruling elite and their minions, compared to the general population, is a really small number. But look at the power they wield. Wow. Now, here's another question. How does this big initiative get funded, do you think, DJ?
Oh.
Speaking of money.
Oh, you're going to love this. I did find the papers regarding how they're looking to fund this. Now, there's going to be different models of this in different countries. They're fundamentally all based on the same mechanics. Income for everyone, working or not. You know, you're even going to get this income if you're working. Now, the determination of the minimum basic income in, say, India versus Japan would be very different, because the cost of living in India is much lower than that of the cost of Japan. Now, the same would hold true for the U.S. versus a country like Venezuela. Now, for the purposes, I'm going to try and give an example and use actual dollar figures. In no way have these actual dollar figures been set forth, okay? But I think they're pretty close to the mark. Now, what's the best way to start this off here? Oh, all right. For let's say the U.S. uses a calculated basic minimum income for an individual, all right, at $35,000 a year.
Okay.
All right, that's what the basic single person in America needs to minimally sustain themselves. All right. Now, the 2016 federal poverty level for an individual is $11,770. Now, individuals who are working at or below the federal poverty level would receive $23,230 or more per year, depending on their, their poverty or below level of income. You with me so far?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, individuals who are not working and have no income from employment will receive the full $35,000 per year.
All right.
Now, here's where now take that and let's flip that coin over. Conversely, employed individuals earning $25,000 a year will receive $10,000 to bring their basic income level up to the $35,000 minimum standard. Those making $30,000 will receive an additional $5,000, and so on. Now, those employed individuals earning $35,000 per year from employment will receive no benefits. Here's the catch. All the documentation I went through on these programs, the definition of earnings was not spelled out. So we don't know at this point, at least I don't, if they're referring to pre or post tax. Now, being the IRS considers income on a gross basis before adjustments, those individuals who are making $43,000, let's say, for an example, before the $9,000 single exemption would be disenfranchised under this program, and it would in fact be to their benefit to find themselves either under or unemployed in order to qualify for the basic minimum income benefit. Now, here's some of the statistics I was able to gather, and these were from government sites, other sites like welfarebenefits.org for 2016. And I just want to try and put this into perspective, how this thing has to collapse under its own weight. Now, on average, the individual welfare recipient, receives approximately, this is approximate, $1,450 per month in cash benefits. All right? These benefits include food stamps, housing and financial assistance, Medicare, Obamacare subsidies, and other expenses also, which under that subheading, they had child care and utilities. So this amounts to $17,400 per year in cash benefits. Now, the basic minimum sustainable income program represents more than a 100% increase in the already staggering amounts being paid out under social welfare programs in this country. Now, fiscal year 2016, on the budget, on the government websites, allows for or projects out for a total of 35.4% of the U.S. population, which is roughly 114,696,000 Americans, who will be means tested or will have been means tested during 2016 to receive the benefits outlined above. Almost 115 million. Now, based on these calculations, this does result in a $17,600 over 100% shortfall in the current benefits being received. Now, under the guise of wealth redistribution and, social justice, all right, this model, and there's no other way to look at this, okay, this model represents that people who are earning $35,000 gross, all right, are looking at potential massive tax increases either on a sliding scale or a potential tax rate of 100% on income over $35,000. There is no way in the current structure that this can be funded. No way. So again, you said, how are they proposing to fund this, I think was the question.
Yeah, they're going to take your money.
Well, yeah, basically. All right, here's some of the proposed ways that were outlined in the Silicon Valley symposiums and in subsequent Davos papers that had come out. And these methods are being looked at. This is not just the United States. These methods are being looked at by all the countries. This is how it's going to work. Pick and choose from the buffet what you need, and you're going to implement it this way. Okay? Number one, an increase in sales taxes. They didn't stipulate what that would be. Number two, instituting a financial transaction tax. All countries. Number three, instituting a pollution tax. Next, reducing current income tax thresholds. So say, I think your audience knows how this works, but if you're in a 22% tax bracket and you're making $45,000 a year, okay, that $45,000 is going to drop to $25,000. So now that $45,000, you're going to be in a 30 to 35% tax bracket. That's what they mean by that. Increasing property and asset taxes. Now, keep in mind that under this model, property and asset ownership, okay, will actually not be a reality anymore. We will still, during the transition phase, have property and asset ownership rights, but it's not looking like that's the plan. Okay, next. They're increasing the VAT tax in countries that have one already and instituting VAT or value added tax in countries that currently do not have one. Here's another innovative thing. They came out with something called progressive tolls. What's a progressive toll? What is that? All right. This is a new.
Doesn't sound good, I'll tell you that.
No, it's none of this is good. But this is something new. This is a concept derived, a new concept that was derived, to fund this behemoth model they're looking to institute across the world. And these tolls, these progressive tolls, would be placed on resource consumption, energy consumption, and they'd also be rolled into transportation taxes. And I found even in one of the papers I read, excuse me, this would also include things like bicycle rentals. That's transportation. So if you're going to rent a bicycle, you're going to pay this progressive toll.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
And of course, what was on the table, the all-time favorite, we'll just print more money if we need it. I'm not kidding you. These are all the proposed funding mechanisms they're looking at.
Hey, DJ, do you remember the old Beatles song, Taxman? If you drive a car, I'll tax the street. If you take a walk, I'll tax your feet. Well, so how prophetic is it? Oh, you're wearing Adidas. That's a slightly higher toll. Pay. I mean, what is this? I'll tell you. It can be defeated between the initiatives of people and between the flawed design of this plan, which, as you indicated earlier, will fall in on itself. What have they thought through all the way up to this point?
Well, what they've thought through all the way in the global model is that the consensus is that all, I outlined for your audience there some of the additional things they're going to have to do, because as we pointed out, with the current welfare structure that's in place, this is going to come nowhere near covering these benefits. Okay, so the general global consensus is that all current social welfare budgets will be diverted to the basic minimum income model. And this includes, your food stamps, your welfare cash benefits, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, retirement benefits, Social Security disability, as these will be classified as welfare programs as well. And, by the way, state, local government, and personal pensions, as well as personal retirement accounts, will also be classified as welfare programs, excesses in the form of personal assets. Under this model, the government is planning to redirect these funds to the basic minimum coffers. Now, we've seen a prelude to this, I think, with the Myra thing that Obama was, trying to push that kind of fell flat on its face. Let the government take care of your IRA. Let us, we'll handle and manage your personal retirement account, because after all, we have such a good track record at managing finances in the past. So that, I think that was kind of like, let's test the waters, see how they're good, because we're going to have to end up, diverting all this money somewhere. And I think I read somewhere that the amount of money in personal retirement savings accounts, plans, and pensions is in the trillions. It's like I take that back. I think it's like 1.2, 1.7 trillion. Don't quote me on that, but it was a big chunk of what we're calling the national debt of, what is it now? 19 trillion something. It represented a significant portion of that. Well, when you're talking in the trillions arena, anything is huge. So those are, those will be the first steps.
Gotcha. Wow. DJ, I hate to do it, but we got to go. And I know you do too, but I know you got a lot more to say, and we want to hear it. So I'm going to invite you right now to come back on the program in the next few weeks, and let's do this again, because it's really good stuff every time you come on and talk to us.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you. And by the way, folks, I have one last little thing for you. Noticias de Madrid, España. A Spanish company has created a high-tech mattress intended to tell the buyer whether their partner is being unfaithful in the conjugal bed when left alone at home. The Smartress looks like any other mattress, but the manufacturer says that its concealed sensors detect suspicious movements in the bed. If the pressure matches algorithms based on research carried out on sexual motions, the worried partner will receive a warning on his or her mobile phone. Quote, if your partner is unfaithful, then at least your mattress will be. That's the slogan being used by the bedmaker Dermet. I would submit to you that if you suspect your partner of cheating, maybe you should ask yourself if you've been doing any cheating. And then, once that question is answered, maybe you ought to just save yourself some money. And whether it's you or your partner, move on down the road, and next time do it right. What does this have to do with what we've talked about with DJ? Well, I'll tell you. Everything is an algorithm. Something that changes over time. Except that it's an algorithm in this life that you actually control. Until we meet again, exercise caution in your daily affairs. Keep your eyes up always. And we'll be seeing you. God bless.